Good morning, Emmanuel, London. I hope you're well. My name is Kenny, and along with my wife Nicola and two daughters, we've recently just moved over to Northern Ireland to plant a church in Belfast. And I've got two things I want to ask from you guys. One, please join us in prayer that we could find a house to live in. Currently, we're in a shed, and we would love to find a house that we can call home and to start just building church within our house. So please be praying for that. But don't worry, I'm just joking. We're not in a shed. We are in an Airbnb, but we want to be finding a house to call home. So please be praying for that. Secondly, I've just welcomed into the 21st century and joined a thing called Instagram. And I need your help. I need 500 followers to get a free Nando's from my niece, because I've got a bet on with her that I could get 500 followers. And I don't want to buy her a Nando's. I want a free Nando's. So help me in that crusade. That would be great. And I also then want you guys to turn to 1 Peter chapter 2. I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but I want to urge you guys to take time today to read that whole chapter. And I'm just going to pull some verses out that God's just speaking to me about that I want to share with you guys, and hopefully you'll find it encouragement as well. I want to read out verse 4. As you come to him, the living stone rejected by humans, but chosen by God and precious to him, you, Emmanuel, London, also are like living stones and are being built into a spiritual house to be a holy priesthood, offering spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. Emmanuel, London, we mightn't be meeting in our buildings, but God is still at work. And I want you to remember that physical buildings aren't the church. You are God's chosen people to be built up into a spiritual household, to be inviting people in to help people find their way back to God. What a privilege to be called to do that. But I want to remind you of what you're building upon, and I want you to come this morning and find rest in it. There's so much anxiety, there's so much what ifs, what's next, but I want to remind you what we're building on. Next couple of verses. See, I lay a stone in Zion, a chosen and precious cornerstone, and the one who trusts in him will never be put to shame. Emmanuel, we have got such a cornerstone, and his name is Jesus, and that's what we build upon. And I want to urge you this morning to come back to this cornerstone, to be reassured that the cornerstone hasn't moved, will not move, that stands firm. You know, the cornerstone is the first stone that's laid in a building. It's a cornerstone that determines direction. It's the cornerstone that sets plumb lines of what we build upon. But you know, the cornerstone is also the lowest stone. When a building is built, it's the lowest stone. It's the stone that carries the most burden when all other rests upon it. I want to urge you leaders in Emmanuel, and I want to urge you members in Emmanuel and people looking in, to come and cast your burdens upon the cornerstone. Come and find rest, come and find peace, come and put all them anxieties upon this cornerstone. And also be reminded of the sacrifice that this cornerstone went to the lowest of the low for you and for me, that we can put our trust in him, that he came into this world not to condemn it, but to set it free. And I want you to come back to Jesus this morning. We're so guilty of going our own ways, aren't we? And trying our own things. But this morning we're reminded and urged again to come back to this cornerstone. And I want to pray for you as Emmanuel to do that. I just want to jump a couple of more verses ahead. Verse 9. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness and into this wonderful light. Once you were not a people, now you are the people of God. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. Emmanuel, London, shout that from the rooftops in your city, that once you were in darkness, but this great Saviour brought you into light and has made a way, has made a way for you, for me to come into this mercy that we receive this morning. I just quickly want to pray for you guys. Father, thank you so much for this cornerstone. We adore you, King Jesus. Thank you that we can come back this morning and lay all our burdens upon you. Thank you that we can come back to you and ask for direction. Thank you that we can say wholeheartedly, Jesus, you lead this church. And Jesus, you lead Emmanuel in London. I pray you will give direction to the leaders there. I pray that you will give rest to the weary. I pray that you will give a voice to the voiceless. I pray that this church will rise up and tell people about this light that now we stand in. Once we were lost, but now we're found. And Emmanuel London, shout it from the rooftops. Invite people in to help them find their way back to God. Get people back in to give voice to the voiceless, rest to the restless. There's people in your city that have no hope. Invite them in and say, come and find hope in King Jesus. I pray for that. You will see many sons and daughters come through and find their rest in our King Jesus. Amen. And we love you, Emmanuel London.